from it. Destiny arrives all the same. Day number 3 of the 2019 Reebok CrossFit Games rolls into the afternoon here at the Alliant Energy Center in Madison, Wisconsin. We are inside the Rogue tent for the Rogue Iron Games, continuing coverage of the 2019 Reebok CrossFit Games. I'm Sean Woodland with Annie Sakamoto, and Chase Ingraham is here as well. We left everyone having watched Team Event 7 and a great battle between Mayhem Freedom and OC3, but other than Mayhem, what stood out to you in that event?
Well, I'm going to go back to my team OC3. I'm rooting for
we're
them
back
still.
on that. Right. Okay, gotcha.
But again, this is a team that they've had a couple of not great finishes, not the start that we expected Team OC3 Black to have, namely the first event and the Team Ruck event. But what they've been is otherwise steady. So they've had only one event finish outside of the top 10. They're just 11 points behind the Central Beast, which are the current third place team. And we're talking about a team that is returning 3 of their third place team members from last year. So this is a team that I think can still do really well, but they've got to keep this steady program going, and then if anything else, they've got to win an event. Yeah,
Mayhem Freedom has won 4 of the 7 events. Let's take a look at the overall standings after 7 events. Mayhem Freedom 635 points. They lead CrossFit Krypton by 157. The Central Beasts sit in 3rd, but they are just 11 points up on OC3 Black for that final spot on the podium, with Don't Stop and Invictus rounding out the top 5. CrossFit Krypton, we've seen a tale of 2 teams here. They came out and they won the sprint relay, but then that next event, event number 7, the Big Chipper, did not go as planned for them.
No, it did not. And I don't know if you know your comic book history, but Planet Krypton gets destroyed eventually, and that is exactly what happened in the final event. They take first to start off the day in stellar fashion, and then we're like, okay, they've got within 60 points of CrossFit Mayhem. And then you go to the next event, and it couldn't have gone worse for CrossFit Krypton. Now they've lost 100 points to them in a single event. Still holding on to second place overall, but it's about momentum now going into these last couple events, especially the end of the day. The points are changing, and they're more and more important. So CrossFit Krypton, hopefully they can bounce back, but what happened in the last event kind of did them in.
Yeah, and remember, we still have another cut to make for the team competition. We're going to go from 7 now down to 5. More on the team competition in a little bit, but let's now turn our attention to the individuals, where we have updated overall standings. We will start with the women. Here are the women who are moving on for the remainder of the competition. There are no more cuts for the individuals. So Tia Toomey still has a lead, but not by much, only 5 points up on Kristen Volta. Jamie Green is 50 points back at Tia Toomey, 45 back at Volta. Carrie Pierce continues to hang around the top 5. Haley Adams, that's a big surprise. She's in 5th place. And Turi Helgadottir, another big surprise. And then Amanda Barnhart rounding out the top 10. She did not fall out of the top 10 courtesy of last event, but Katrin Davidsdottir does enough to keep herself inside the top 10 and inside the competition. You look at that, and you say, okay, those are the women I'm going to be watching. And then you go to the women who were cut, and there are some big names in 11 through 20 who we are not going to see continue in this competition. Annie Thorisdottir, Laura Horvath, these are podium athletes, former champions. Sam Briggs, a former champion, will be there. And Sarah Sigmundsdottir was never able to just get herself in gear. She came into that last event in 20th, she leaves in 20th place, and now she is done in this competition. Still trying to wrap my head around that one. But Katrin Davidsdottir, meanwhile, backs against the wall and did just enough to squeak in there for the rest of the competition.
Well, currently sitting in 9th overall, finish in 9th place into that event thanks to a Brooke Wells penalty. That is the only reason why Katrin Davidsdottir is currently sitting in the top 10. in 9th place. So she has used all 9 of her lives going into the rest of the weekend, but she's survived the cut. She's in top 10, and now that's really all that matters. We can't say that it starts from 0, but with the point scale dramatically shifting and rewarding high finishes like exponentially than we've ever seen in the past, and really hurting good finishes. You're talking like 6th and 7th places, losing upwards to 60 to 70 points. So now things can change dramatically. Katrin is not out of it, sitting in that 9th place position.
Yeah, and Kristen Volta sits in 2nd place. We're going to be talking about her a whole lot now, making up for last time that we've had in prior CrossFit Games. Just 5 points out into Chase's point. That can change like that.
Right, and you know, we've been joking about the fact that we've overlooked Kristen Volta for so many years, and that we're not going to do it now. And if anybody out there does not have Kristen Volta on their radar, shame on you at this point. You know, she not only is she in 2nd place, like you said, Sean, she's only 5 points back from back-to-back champion Tia-Clair Toomey. She's gotten 7th place at the last 2 games, 2018 and 2017, phenomenal finishes, right? But when we look at her background as an athlete, a lot of these athletes, they have gymnastics in their background or maybe track. Listen to this. Gymnastics, dance, soccer, cross-country skiing. She was a national level heptathlete at the javelin, pole vault, and 400-meter hurdles. Her dad was an Olympic cross-country skier, so we can say that she's fairly athletic, right? But most importantly, I think what Kristen Volta has going for her is just her mental game. When you look at her right now, she seems so calm, so collected out on the competition floor. She's obviously a veteran. If Kristen Volta is not on your radar right now, you better go look her up on Instagram. You better go look at the leaderboard, because she's got to be on your radar.
Yeah, smack dab in the middle, just a giant picture of Kristen Volta on your radar, and she is clearly going to be on Tia Toomey's radar for the rest of this competition. The latest event for the individuals has been released, and we're going to head inside the Coliseum at the Alliant Energy Center, and we have another, what is being called a Sprint Triplet. We're going to bring back the pegboard. We're going to have 5 rounds of a pegboard ascent. We're going to do a whole bunch of double unders, and then split movements, meaning split with your legs with the dumbbell. It's going to be 55 pounds for the women, 80 pounds for the men, and there's a 20-minute time cap here. What do you think the keys to this are?
Well, you know, looking at it, yes, it's only 1 pegboard ascent. Yes, it's only 1 dumbbell, and it's only 100 double unders, which for these athletes is not that many. But when you think about it, it's those 3 movements in conjunction with each other that means it's really about grip, stamina, throughout those 5 rounds. So it's one thing to have grip strength, we were talking about this, but it's a whole nother thing to have grip stamina, considering that you're not going to get any rest on your grip throughout these 3 movements.
I think it's the compounding effect of those 3 movements. Yes, 110 on each side, it's not that big of a deal, but when you do it for 5 rounds, after all of these athletes did upwards to 300 plus pull-ups yesterday, less than 24 hours ago, their arms have got to be fatigued. And when you look at something like a hang dumbbell split snatch, it's going to be a lot. I think it's going to throw athletes for a little bit of a loop. They're used to putting it on the ground. That's a heavy weight to hold for a single arm. Do it for 10 reps in a row for the hang on both sides. I think that's really going to trick athletes just a little bit if they haven't practiced something like that.
Let's talk athletes to watch. I think anytime you talk about grip strength, you got to look right at one Carrie Pierce.
Well, exactly. I mean, Carrie Pierce has phenomenal upper body pulling strength and grip strength. And then besides that, she put on a great show last night with Mary, not only winning the event for the ladies, but actually beating out even the men with her total reps across Mary. So I think I would have to have my eyes on Carrie Pierce.
Tia Toomey has a lot of experience with the pegboard. That shouldn't be a problem for her, but I'm interested to see how she's going to handle some of these dumbbell movements.
Well, the experience that I like from Tia Toomey is that she's had good experiences and she's had bad experiences. And what that really shows is that it's experience from all levels. So there's nothing really that you're nervous about. If you failed before, you're not nervous about failing right now. If you've had success, it breeds confidence in your ability. But what I want to see from Tia especially is for her to come out and kind of reassert herself against the rest of the field. She's kind of been bobbing her head above water in the top 5, in the top 10. She's still in the lead, but only by 5. I feel like the momentum has shifted away from her just a little bit, so I'd like to see her reestablish that as we go inside for this event.
Let's take a look at the schedule of events for the remainder of the day as more and more details continue to get released and what will be going on. We do know that we've gone through the sprint relays for both the men and the women, and we had the team big chipper. That was at noon. Next up at 1:30 is the individual split triplet, and we will be calling, well, the only heat of 10 athletes. It's 10 athletes from here on out. So we are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will be back to bringing the action from inside the Coliseum here at the Alliant Energy Center. The sprint triplet up next for the women. Stay with us here on the Rogue Iron Game.